against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin. You're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. We cover breaking news, culture, dramatic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Crazy news. Jordan Peterson, one of the most influential people on planet Earth in terms of media, basically said the quiet part out loud. He said, scrap banks, adopt Bitcoin. And the crazy part about this, right, is what you hear from a lot of the political rhetoric, right, where you hear from a lot of the people that correctly identify the problems, like Javier Milei is a great example of this, right? He's correctly identified the issue. The issue is central banking. The issue is the state, right? But there, if you correctly identify the issue without providing a solution, you're not really going anywhere. Like the whole End the Fed movement, shout out Ron Paul, because I think he really started that in the United States. Like that's great, right? But end the Fed and then what? End the Fed and then Bitcoin. So when someone who has that much influence outside of the Bitcoin echo chamber is not only saying scrap banks, but is actually presenting the solution to his mainstream audience that is not inside the Bitcoin echo chamber, that is a really big deal. So we're gonna get into that. He has a massive following, not only on YouTube, also on Twitter. I know a lot of people don't agree with his politics, and and I respect that and I understand that. But what I ask you is to zoom out. It's not his politics are irrelevant to this cause, to what we're trying to achieve here. And what we're ultimately trying to achieve is the separation of money and state peacefully, people waking up, realizing that no one should have the ability to create money for free that someone else has to work for. And they opt out into not only a currency that is not inflationary, but is actually deflationary. Your purchasing power increases over time. So that's why this is a big deal. That's why it's a big deal when people like Jordan Peterson, people like Joe Rogan, people like Tucker Carlson, when they taught Tim Pool the other day, it's very important that those individuals that have massive followings, independent followings outside of the legacy corporate media, talk about Bitcoin, because that is when the mainstream starts to ask questions. And I'm very glad that Jordan Peterson not only correctly identified the problem, but also said, okay, the solution is Bitcoin. Now, this is a major effort by the Bitcoin community, right? There was a podcast that he did with Robert Breedlove, Gigi. I think he did one with Saifedean also. That all contributed to him coming to that conclusion that Bitcoin was the answer. Just like how Max Kaiser went on Tucker Carlson, just how Michael Saylor went on Tucker Carlson, just how Marty Bent went on Tucker Carlson, Bitcoiners breaking out of the Bitcoin echo chamber, getting into the ears of huge, massively popular, mainstream, independent content creators so that they can tell their audience, guys, it's not left or right. It's not all this stuff that you guys are getting caught distracted with. The issue is the money. You fix the money, you fix the world. That's why I'm so hyped about today's episode. Anyways, I want to bring up my legendary co-host. He's getting more professional by the minute. He's wearing polos now. Are we just poloing it up, bro, from now on? Is that what we're doing?
Anders was trolling me that I allegedly am going to be wearing a suit in LA. I don't have a suit, so maybe I'll have to buy a suit so that I can be more professional. No, it just got washed. It was on my computer chair, and I'm like, all right, I'm wearing a polo today. It is what it is. It is what it is.
You're wearing a lot more polos as of late, bro.
I have two polos, and It's like I put on a button shirt and everyone's like, oh, you're so professional. It's like, guys, I'm just not wearing a hoodie and a t-shirt. But hey, I don't know. We'll do a poll. Do people want me to wear polos anymore? Whatever. Anyway, this is not about my fashion decisions, okay? Yeah, man, Nico, crazy stuff. I can't wait to break down this whole news story today, but we'll save that for later. On that note, we do have a guest today. Shouts out to Stefan, a Bitcoiner, and we're really going to dive in on the connections between health and Bitcoin and why you guys need to get healthy out there. It's super important. Anyway, Stefan, how are you doing today?
I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us on Simply.
Wait, hold on. Humpty took a shot.
Thanks for joining us on Simply, man.
Wildin'.
So, okay, there is a huge connection between Bitcoin and health, because I think Bitcoin inherently changes your worldview, right? And it makes you start thinking about the long term, right? And if you're going to start thinking about the long term, obviously you start thinking about, oh my God, the chat is going ham. What have I done? When you start thinking about the long term, you start thinking about your health, right? You obviously you want longevity. You want longevity for your kids. You know, you want to be around when they're grown up. So, what was it? Is there a connection there?
Yeah, there's definitely a connection. Like you said, I think that's spot on. Just delaying gratification, thinking about the future. And then part of that is accountability, right? You have this network of money, which is accountable for everybody to see. And you can't be healthy if you're not accountable, right? We have to keep each other accountable too. So the decisions you're making today will, have an effect on the future, no doubt. So with money, the same. If you're just consuming, you're not delaying any consumption, you're not saving, your wealth may be affected in the future, and so will your health, because you're probably eating too much, you're probably partying, you're probably going out, you're just wasting all of the future's energy today and your life force and your money. So they do kind of go hand in hand. We can dive deeper, we could talk about this for hours, but that's, I think in a nutshell, that's where it's headed,
We'll talk about it heavily in the culture.
100%, 100%. All right, man. Can't wait for this episode. Should be a lot of fun. Let's jump straight into the numbers. Let's do it.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. All right, guys, I literally made it super easy for you guys. You can scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Stamp Seed website. You can get yourself a Stamp Seed so you could correctly store your generational wealth. Store it on titanium. Don't store it on paper. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to explain it to your grandchildren because you stored it on paper. Anyways, at the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 27,230 sats per dollar, 3,672 block height, 808,311 blocks to halving, 31,689 halving estimate, April 21st, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,806 Bitcoin. Capacity value 130 million US dollars. Realized monetary inflation 1.75%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin $530 billion with a B. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 4.11%. And of course, that number is going to continue to go up forever, and the realized monetary inflation rate will continue to go down forever, continuing to embarrass fiat currencies. Anyways, I mentioned Ron Paul in the very, very beginning of the episode, and sometimes you have to look back in time, right? And Ron Paul was very interesting. I know he was officially a Republican, but he was definitely a libertarian, and he really started this End the Fed movement. I know Javier Milei has mentioned him as well, right? This whole idea of central banking and the evils of central banking and all the consequences of central banking. Now, what's really interesting about Ron Paul is that he started mentioning this stuff when this type of rhetoric, when this type of conversation was completely outside of the Overton window. It was considered radical. Now the End the Fed movement has definitely picked up momentum. People are definitely questioning what is money, maybe in other countries more so than in the United States. But I think it's just a matter of time before people start questioning that as well. One of the most popular political podcast in the United States, Steve Bannon's War Room, he mentions End the Fed all the time, right? So this whole idea, this whole movement is picking up steam. However, it's up to us Bitcoiners, and this is why the Jordan Peterson news that we're going to cover today is so consequential. It's up to us as Bitcoiners to not only say end the Fed, but also identify because again, people are like, end the Fed and replace it with what? Don't replace it with anything. Bitcoin just is, right? Anyways, I'm going to play you guys the video. It's about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I have it playing at 1.5 times the speed, so it should be a little bit faster. But I think it is worthwhile watching. This was right after the 2008 crash, and Ron Paul absolutely hit the nail on the head. Absolute legend. Let's check it out.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Federal Reserve is the culprit. It has delivered this crisis to us. The Federal Reserve's low interest rate policy is a big mistake. It is not a panacea. Artificially low interest rates are achieved by inflating the money supply. Low interest rates penalize the thrifty, and those who save are cheated. It promotes consumption and borrowing over savings and investing. Manipulating interest rates is an immoral act. It is economically destructive. The policy of artificially low interest rates caused our problems and therefore cannot be the solution. The market rate of interest is crucial information for the smooth operation of the economy. A central bank setting interest rates is price fixing and is a form of central economic planning. Price fixing is a tool of socialists and destroys production. Central bankers, politicians, and bureaucrats can't know what the proper rate should be. They lack the knowledge and are deceived by their own aggrandizement. Manipulating the money supply and interest rates rejects all the principles of the free market. Ironically, free markets and sound money generates low rates, but unlike the artificially low rates orchestrated by the Fed, this information conveyed is beneficial to investors and savers. The Congress, by conceding this authority, conveys extraordinary economic powers to the elite few. This is a power that has been abused throughout history. Only the Federal Reserve can inflate the currency, creating new money and credit out of thin air, in secrecy, without oversight or supervision. Inflation facilitates deficits, needless wars, and excessive welfare spending. Debasing a currency is counterfeiting. It steals value from every dollar earned or saved. It robs the people and makes them poorer. It is the enemy of the working person. Inflation is the most vicious and regressive of all forms of taxation. It transfers wealth from the middle class to the privileged rich. The economic chaos that results from a policy of central bank inflation inevitably leads to political instability and violence. It is an ancient tool of all authoritarians. Inflating is never a benefit to freedom-loving people. It destroys prosperity and feeds the fires of war. It is responsible for recessions and depressions. It's deceptive, addictive, and causes delusions of grandeur with regards to wealth and knowledge. Wealth cannot be achieved by creating money by fiat. It instead destroys wealth, and it rewards the special interests. Depending on monetary fraud for national prosperity, or a reversal of our downward spiral is riskier than depending on the lottery. Inflation has been used to pay for all the wars and empires, and they all end badly. Inflationism and corporatism engenders protectionism and trade wars. It prompts scapegoating, blaming foreigners, illegal immigrants, ethnic minorities, and too often freedom itself for the predictable events and suffering that results. Besides, the whole process is unconstitutional. There is no legal authority to operate such a monetary system. So let's stop it. Let us restore a policy of prosperity, peace, and liberty. The time has come. Let's end the Fed.
I mean, like, holy cow. Holy cow. He called this back in 2008. All of the things that are happening now, right? It's accelerated, right? The rich have gotten richer. The lower and middle classes, I read you guys the article the other day. 61% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. If you're a millennial or you're a Gen Zer, it is almost impossible to be able to afford a home. The prices of real estate have doubled in the last 2 years ago, 2 years alone, since they started printing all of that money. Ron Paul hit the nail on the head. This was more than 10 years ago, and he was absolutely spot on about everything that he predicted. Why? Because this has happened throughout history. I made a joke over the weekend, and it was absolutely hilarious because everyone was talking about the Roman Empire. You wake up, do men think about the glory of Rome when they wake up? Well, you know what was one of the key things that made the Roman Empire collapse, right? First, the Western Roman Empire, and then the Eastern Roman Empire really was eventually taken over, the siege of Constantinople. But the Western Roman Empire, all of that, what did they do? They inflated the money supply. Now, back then, it wasn't paper. Back then, the currency that they used is called the denarius. And essentially what they would do is you could literally see that there would be a percentage of silver in those coins. And as time progressed, the percentage of silver went down and down and down and down and down. They debased the currency because the state, the emperor, wanted to spend more money than they had. So they inflated the currency. And that's exactly what this current empire, of which we're living in these days, the American empire, they're doing the exact same thing. They're spending money they don't have. The US dollar, the US government spends 1 trillion. That is more than most countries' GDPs. They spend $1 trillion every single year. More than they collect in tax revenue. How are they able to afford this? They're able to afford this through deficit spending. They're able to afford this because of the money printer. Javier Milei's interview with Tucker Carlson was so spot on because he called it. Tucker called it. And what this money printing gives, what this money printing allows the federal government to do: endless wars, enrich their friends, spend on social programs that normally would not be economically feasible, the misallocation of capital, that all comes from the Fed, that all comes from central banking. Now, there is a silver lining to this, is that I think that we are heading into a place where things are getting so bad that people are finally starting to wake up and ask a very basic but very important question. What is money? And we're starting to see that in countries that are farthest away from the monopoly or farthest away from the main benefactors. But you're starting to see this in Turkey. You're starting to see this in Nigeria. You're definitely starting to see this in Argentina. You saw it in El Salvador. People are questioning what is money. People are questioning fiat itself. And The way I know that is the attacks that are coming from the legacy media. They're so hell-bent on attacking El Salvador. They're so hell-bent on attacking Javier Milei in Argentina because there are threats to the status quo. When you start questioning the very system, why should you have the ability to create money for free that I have to work for? Why should my money lose purchasing power? Period. Like, that is a question. Why should I do that? They do not have a response to that. They ignore it. They do the ostrich thing where they put their heads in the sand and then they hope that you're not paying attention. The US Treasury wrote a paper last year. It's called The Future of Money and Payments. In the future of money and payments, in that paper, they did not mention Bitcoin. They mentioned central bank digital currencies, they mentioned payment platforms, and they mentioned stable coins. They mentioned all the things that would allow them to maintain the privilege of being able to create money for free. And all us Bitcoiners are asking for is an equitable system where if you want to make more Bitcoin, you got to buy it, you got to earn it, and you got to mine it just like everybody else. There's a cost to production. And that inevitably leads to a sound money standard, a world living on sound money. Now, here's the thing. It's too early to tell, but look at what's happened in El Salvador. They made Bitcoin legal tender, right? They fixed the base layer of society. And then it's a big coincidence. The country that did that, all of a sudden, maybe it's a coincidence. All of a sudden, the person who was elected into office is actually doing the things that he said he was going to do. And I believe the reason that I believe that is because Bitcoin has aligned incentives and the fiat system has misaligned incentives. In the fiat system, a bureaucratic elite win, a wealthy elite win, while everyone loses. In Bitcoin, everyone wins. It's an aligned incentive model, right? So, anyways, that's my take. Ron Paul's an absolute legend. Holy cow. He's still going strong, by the way. He still has his own show called The Liberty Report. He's still dropping hot fire, and the man's 80 years old. So shout out to that, bro. Shout out to Ron Paul, man. He started the fire, and I think it's up to us, Opti. It's up to us and all the Bitcoiners to really, really see it through. Anyways, Opti, what's your take?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that's where you ended, because I was gonna say the same thing. In hindsight, all Bitcoiners are just like mini Ron Pauls, but with a real solution, you know, like, and the Fed in hindsight, again, like 2020 is hindsight 2020. And the Fed is really, it feels like lip service, you know, like if there's no solution to ending the Fed, which as a Bitcoiner, we would say it is opting into Bitcoin. It's just a good slogan. Like, it's a good meme. I don't know exactly when Ron Paul started the meme of end the Fed. It seems to have caught some steam in the last couple of years, and it seems like it's starting to make its way around, you know, the globe, and people aren't just using it as like some kind of niche political ideology. It's like, we all know, well, not all of us. Again, let me backtrack. The people that know what's going on know that the money printer is the main problem. The central banks of the world are the main parasites of society. And this is why we've all become poorer as we've gotten more productive in the world. Like, as technology has improved, our salaries haven't improved with it, which is what should happen if this was a fair system. And the only solution is taking away the money printer, i.e. opting into Bitcoin, opting out of the fiat world. And it doesn't really matter, as far as I'm concerned, what side of the aisle you're on, left, right, whatever. We say it all the time. It's orange versus green. The mechanism is the same. Spend other people's money to allegedly help society. Either way, you're getting poorer. In practice, you are getting poorer. The fiat mechanism is a wealth redistribution mechanism, as Ron Paul was saying, you know, whether through taxation or inflation, the average person is becoming poorer because we're not the ones with these private contracts. You know, we're not the ones getting the government's money directly. All we have to do, or all we can do, is feel the consequences of our dollar dwindle away in real time. So in my opinion, I love the meme and the Fed, but again, it does feel like only half the solution. And we talk about it all the time. We tell you stack sats, stay humble, stay solvent, like opt into Bitcoin. But beauty on playing in my head, like it doesn't matter if people do know this meme if they're not holding Bitcoin, if they're not downloading wallets. So again, and the Fed's a great meme. It's caught some steam in the last couple of years, but it really does feel like only half of the solution, which is identifying the problem. I say it all the time. I think most people that understand what's going on can identify the problem, but the solution is opting into Bitcoin. It is saving in Bitcoin. It is not partaking in the fiat system as much as possible. I know we all have to survive. We got to pay our bills and all that, but you need to have some savings on the side in a parallel system, aka Bitcoin. And this is the only way we can win. There is only one solution. It is to use a money that cannot be debased for any reason that is outside of the control of humans. We say it all the time. Separation of money and state. This is Bitcoin. This is how we fix the system. You cannot fix the system from within the system. Hence, why Bitcoiners have just built a better financial system. What's the meme, Nico? A roundabout way.
A sly roundabout way. A sly roundabout way.
This is what we're doing. And slowly but surely, people are opting into it. Individuals are making the choice to stop getting robbed. And it's just beautiful to see. And, shouts out to Ron Paul, because a lot of his rhetoric does get propagated within the Bitcoin system, a Bitcoin ecosystem. All of us are basically, small Ron Paul lights at the end. We're all saying the same thing, and the Fed. But I think now we have a viable solution, which is obviously holding Bitcoin, have some savings in Bitcoin, transact in Bitcoin as much as possible, and start to use fiat less. And it's going to happen slowly but surely, but it's happening in real time, and people are waking up to it. Anyway, Stefan, I see you want to jump in on this. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man, so many threads to pull from, but yeah, just use fiat less is what you got to do. Kind of jumping into health, just you got to stay away from that fiat food too, just less, gravitate towards healthier food. Like you said, the solution, we need to offer a solution. We can't just be ranting about all this stuff and not offer a solution. So, but it's clear that as you get closer to a solution, as you get closer to Bitcoin, your life, your health, your financial health will start to improve ever so slightly, little by little. And then with your food as well, as you start to gravitate towards healthier food, healthier habits, you're going to start feeling a little bit better, right? Going back to what Ron Paul said, he said a lot of things that also make me think of the healthcare system. He was saying deceived by aggrandizement, like that's what you have in healthcare, is a lot of people that, they've studied a lot, they're smart, but I think they've been deceived themselves by a system that starts above them and starts to trickle down. And then they're kind of boxed into this little way of thinking. And within that box, yeah, they're super smart. But they fail to see that a lot of it is deceptive, like Ron Paul also said. And it actually paradoxically destroys your health, just like the financial system is put in place to improve your wealth, and it destroys your wealth. We have a healthcare system that, I think it should be called the sick care system, where in reality, it's objectively measurable that people are getting sicker, just as financially people are getting poorer. And there's really no debate. You can look at chronic disease, you can look at obesity, you can look at mortality as well. It's just very clear. So, and then just another point Ron Paul said, I wrote it down here: blaming others for results, right? The price signal in money is just so distorted. It's hard to see what's causing what, because we suffer from solutions, so many interventions here, left, right, everywhere. And so then the effects usually are delayed, right? They come in 6 months, a year, 2 years. So then when they happen, we're like, oh, I don't know why this happened, Healthcare is the same way. We do a lot of interventions, doctors, nurses, we have to intervene, right? Because if we don't intervene and something happens, you didn't intervene, you should have intervened. So we just err on the side of caution, intervene, and then, oh, I don't know why this happened, you know? Last point, unconstitutional is another thing Ron Paul said. With this whole COVID thing, you know, in healthcare, we talk a lot about autonomy, informed consent. Those are two key things that we learn about in ethics. You know, it's all gone out the window. So, you know, just some similarities. Ron Paul obviously is on point with everything he says. And to wrap it up, I feel like since everything is downstream from money, when you start to learn about money and see and understand, you know, through math, it's just math, how it's fucked up, then you can kind of just see that pattern repeat everywhere, because the money, the incentives in money are what is causing those issues. So in healthcare, it's just super clear. And yeah, we want to live free lives. You have to be healthy, wealthy to be able to do the things that you want to do, you, your family, your friends. So I think that's why we talk about this so much. We want to share it. But at the end of the day, your health is yours. Your wealth is yours. We want to share the good vibes. But, you know, at the end of the day, everybody's going to benefit from what they do.
100%. 100%, man. I think you hit the nail on the head. I love how you tied together the health and the wealth, because I completely agree, right? Wealth is nothing without health, you know? So I think you hit the nail on the head there. Shout out Ron Paul for really, really starting this movement. Anyways, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Bitcoin 2024. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth. It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee this year, July 25th through the 27th, 2024. You don't want to miss this Bitcoin celebration. You can get your tickets now for a discounted rate. For a GA pass, it's $349. For an industry pass, it's $849. For a whale pass, it's $4,749. Again, you want to get your tickets quickly because the prices will go up. These are very discounted rates, and you can take advantage of the promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off these already discounted tickets. So get your tickets to the largest Bitcoin conference on planet Earth, Bitcoin 2024, the year of the halving, Nashville, Tennessee, today. All right, everybody, let's get to the news. Let's do it.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, guys, take your Bitcoin into self-custody. Get yourself a Passport by Foundation Devices, one of the best hardware wallets on the market. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's completely open source. Scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to the Foundation Devices website. Anyways, I was about to say at the time of recording. That's for numbers. Anyways, this is the news after all. Check out this article from Finbold. Jordan Peterson suggests it's time to scrap banks and use Bitcoin. Goes on to say, Dr. Jordan Peterson, a best-selling author and well-known Canadian psychologist with over 4.6 million followers on X, sparked a debate on September 14 about the unbanking movement and Bitcoin being a tool to scrap banks. Notably, Peterson's post was made in response to Australian news regarding Marquette's bank branches moving to scrap cash, check, and phone payment systems. And here's the article. Here's a tweet actually, or an X post. He says, maybe it's time to scrap banks. Could Bitcoin fix this? Absolutely, Bitcoin could fix this. And this is a movement, mind you, that is happening all around the world. They plan to get rid of cash, and they're planning to push central bank digital currencies. So when someone with this much mainstream outside of the Bitcoin echo chamber, right, is not only suggesting fiat money's a problem, state money's a problem, banks are the problem, but they're actually presenting the solution, which is Bitcoin, it's a big effing deal. This is how you move the Overton window. This is how you win the race to avoid the war. This is how you make Bitcoin mainstream. You keep hammering these points home. And Jordan Peterson, however which way you feel about his politics, he's an extremely popular independent media figure. Anyways, it goes on to say, Australia is not the only country looking to end the use of physical cash and other non-centralized means of exchange. In most European countries, the use of cash is already limited to smaller transactions. And Nigerian banks also have low cash withdrawals on their ATMs. In this context, Jordan Peterson suggests that people should stop using banks and asks if Bitcoin can fix this, as it can be an alternative tool for the ones that are still looking for cash-like experience with their money. It goes on to say, interestingly, the Canadian doctor has already demonstrated a will to use Bitcoin as a facilitator for global monetary transactions, and was later introduced to the Lightning Network custodial wallets by Joe Nakamoto in order to receive borderless donations instead of using the fiat-based GoFundMe services. And remember what happened during the Canadian truckers' protest. The GoFundMe was frozen. It was seized by the government. You know, the only thing that they were not able to seize, they were able to seize part of the transactions, not because they were able to compromise Bitcoin itself, but because they were able to get the private keys off of one of the custodian, or one of the people that were organizing the funding for the Canadian truckers. But I think it's like 75% of the funding has still not been able to be touched by the Canadian government. And that, I guarantee you, that absolutely terrifies them. I guarantee you that's why Elizabeth Warren is so hell-bent on destroying Bitcoin. She is once again putting on pressure. She's gotten a bunch of other senators and congresspeople to sign on to an anti-Bitcoin bill that Pierre Richard said would basically kill the Bitcoin mining industry in the States. We're going to cover that tomorrow because it's some very harsh language. And it's important that you guys are armed with knowledge and facts so you guys are aware what is going on. And most importantly, take agency, take action, educate the people around you. It's not right versus left. It's not red versus blue. It's the party of green, the party of nihilism, poverty, central bank digital currencies, fiat, versus the party of orange, the party of peace, Bitcoin, prosperity, and opportunity and optimism. Anyways, goes on to say, answering Peterson's question, many renowned Bitcoin advocates commented in support of the cause, like the host of the What is Money podcast, Robert Breedlove. He goes on to say, banks impart counterparty risk to the act of using money. Bitcoin in self-custody is money absent counterparty risk. So yes, Bitcoin fixes this. This is why it's so important, by the way, to take self-custody of your Bitcoin, right? If it's not your keys, not your Bitcoin. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now, of course, here is a central bank digital currency pusher. This is one of the narratives, right, that they created. He goes on to say, no, it couldn't. The traditional banking system could do 50K to 100K transactions per second. The CBDC pilot in the US can do 1.7 million transactions per second. Bitcoin can do 7 transactions per second. Wait a second. Did he just say the quiet part out loud that the Fed now is the CBDC pilot in the US? I thought they were saying that it wasn't. Anyways, you need to do some research before you spout BTC. You might think you're in the crowd, but actually taking a shit with your trousers on again. Well, of course, he obviously hasn't heard of the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network, is great for those everyday transactions, right? It's instantaneous. It's basically almost free. And most importantly, it's censorship resistant. Anyways, so why did this happen? Well, we have to go back in time and we have to look at this podcast that Robert Breedlove did with Jordan Peterson did with Robert Breedlove, John Vallis, Gigi's in here, and I forget the name of this Bitcoiner, but shout out to you, brother. His name is Richard James. So these podcasts, right, and we emphasize the importance of this podcast when it came out, are so important because these are all Bitcoiners that are within the Bitcoin echo chamber. We're all on the mission. You don't need to explain it. And they're explaining it to someone who has a very large audience, and they're getting them to understand, look, the issue is state money. The issue is the fact that people are not taking self-custody of their wealth. And they can't do that with the CBDC. They can't do that with having their money in a bank. So they planted these seeds in Jordan Peterson's head. And then fast forward, Jordan Peterson starts connecting the dots when banks are basically saying, okay, we have to get rid of cash. And look, he says it right there. Bitcoin, the future of money, ? Well, it looks like he, you could say that he has come to somewhat of a conclusion. Now, why is this so important? Why am I focusing on Jordan Peterson? He is someone that a lot of people find divisive, and I could see why a lot of people would say that, especially on his political beliefs. He has an audience of 7.46 million subscribers on YouTube. He has millions of followers on Twitter as well. And he talks against the established narrative, right? This is why it's so important for independent mainstream media content creators to understand Bitcoin, because they will point their audience to Bitcoin and once again spreading the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. And remember, independent media is the future. This is something that we talked about, a couple days ago on Friday's episode when we were talking about Tucker Carlson, right? Tucker Carlson got fired from Fox. His average views per episode when he was at Fox were 3.5 million viewers per episode. Fast forward, he dropped this episode. This is the episode before the interview with Javier Milei. In this 55 seconds, he literally destroyed, and we played you guys the clip, he destroyed the scam of fiat currencies. Extremely similar wording to what Ron Paul was saying on the Senate, on the floor of Congress, right? This episode performed really well, but the episode that he did with Javier Milei had 450 million views or impressions, right? And compared to his days at Fox News, it only got 3.5 million. Independent media is the future. And when I say independent media, that means you. So if you have a Twitter account, if you have a YouTube channel, start pounding on the drum, start beating the battle drum. It's up to you to orange pill your family. It's up to you to spread the sound money gospel. So we were talking about, this idea that governments are trying to get rid of cash. But it's a lot deeper than that. It's not only about getting rid of cash, it's also implementing central bank digital currencies. Here's an article on Zero Hedge. I think the original article came out on Epoch Times, and it goes on to say the group of 20 leaders have agreed to a plan to eventually impose digital currencies and digital IDs on their respective populations, despite fears that governments will use them to monitor their people's spending and crush dissent. The G20, which is currently under India's presidency, adopted a final declaration on the subject over the weekend in New Delhi. The meeting, which included the world's leading economies, announced last week that they had agreed to build the necessary infrastructure to implement digital currencies and IDs. The group said that the discussions were already underway to create international regulations for cryptocurrencies, but claimed that there was no talk of banning cryptocurrency at the summit. Many critics are concerned that governments and central banks will eventually regulate cryptocurrencies and then immediately replace them with CBDCs, which lack similar privacy and security. Quote, India's presidency has put on the table key issues related to regulating and understanding that there should be a framework for handling issues related to crypto assets. The top items discussed at the New Delhi summit, including building digital public infrastructure, crypto assets. Geeta Gupta, the International Monetary Fund's first deputy managing director, said in a video posted on X that the G20 helped shape a global perspective on how policymakers should deal with crypto assets. She also assured Business Today that there was no talk of banning cryptocurrencies, including a global consensus against such measures. However, some of the suggestions call for additional policing of cryptocurrencies, which are decentralized and do not operate under central bank control. Critics say that these proposals could allow government authorities to impose a social credit score system and decide how their citizens can spend their money. So when I say Bitcoin or slavery, I am literally not exaggerating that. Beautyon said it best at BitBlock Boom when I interviewed it, when I had an interview with him. He says, Nico, it's not Bitcoin or slavery. It is literally Bitcoin or death. They're literally telling you. They're saying the quiet part out loud. And do you believe them that when they have these CBDs rolled out, they're not going to just, try to cut the legs off their competition, which is Bitcoin? If people had a choice between a deflationary currency that is not censored, right, that is not controlled by the government, and a country that is a currency that is inflationary and is controlled and is censored by the government, what do you think people are going to choose? So government's only hope to getting people to use CBDCs is to try to coerce them to do that. So when I say Bitcoin or slavery, when Beautyon says Bitcoin or death, it is not a joke. We are not being hyperbolic. This is the future ahead of us, and you have to decide as an individual, what future do you want to live in and what future you want your children to live in. Opti, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, kind of circling back, I'm really glad we're talking about this, because this is like the whole reason for this YouTube channel in general, is to do our best to get outside of the Bitcoin echo chamber. I know we constantly get crap because we're on YouTube, but we're also on Rumble, Bitcoin TV, Twitter. We're using all the platforms, but we've realized one thing is, like, you need to go where people are. And the most important thing as a Bitcoiner is to get the Bitcoin signal outside of our little Bitcoin Twitter echo chamber, because I think few people really understand the importance of independent content creators. Like, you guys out there have the most powerful voice you probably have ever had because of social media. And it really is, the irony is never lost on me of just like how people waste it. And I think this is the most important thing for us to be doing, is to be talking about Bitcoin, to be talking about freedom, to be talking about the problems, but also giving people solutions. And it's so funny to me that, Jordan Peterson is like, he's like this close, man. Like, he's this close to getting people to just do the whole like Beautyon thing of like, all right, look, pointing out the problems, okay, asking the rhetorical question whether Bitcoin fixes this is cool, but getting people to download Bitcoin wallets is the most important thing to be doing. And then, of course, getting sizable chunks of their savings into the Bitcoin network. This is how Bitcoin adoption happens. But it really just kind of goes to the other Bitcoin meme. If you've been in Bitcoin for a while, Bitcoiners are always like a year or two ahead of popular content creators, or like the zeitgeist. And so I remember a year or two ago, all of us Bitcoiners, all we were doing on Twitter was just like the constant Bitcoin fixes this meme. And we just like quote tweet everything wrong with the world. And we just like Bitcoin fixes this. And it seems like Jordan Peterson's like at that point of the saga where he's like wondering whether Bitcoin actually does fix this. Cause I mean, like, if you have a conversation with like Gigi and John Val, it's like, of course you're going to get those seeds planted in your brain, and it's only a matter of time until they start to flourish and become full beautiful plants in his mind, or however you want to take the metaphor. And so it's just it just goes to show that you guys are ahead of the curve as a Bitcoiner. We may just be a little ahead of everyone, and it's upon us to like be good shepherds and show them that, hey, there is a fix to this. And yes, of course it is Bitcoin, but it's not so much just talking about the problems. And I know a lot of people get they get stuck in like the dopamine rush of like being super smart and knowing what the problem is, and they get that audience capture. And this is why we do our best to constantly double down and tell you guys, like, you need to be downloading Bitcoin wallets, you need to save in Bitcoin, because like, look, you can either take the abuse or you opt into Bitcoin. And like, this is literally the reason for our show, the reason we designed this show in such a way so that we can survive on YouTube, so that we can hopefully get more normies to get into the Bitcoin ecosystem, so that we can take the shitcoin viewers and they come on to Bitcoin and realize that there's only Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the solution to this. And if you are just taking the abuse, you're seeing things around you, you're looking out at the world and you're seeing that the banks are deplatforming, that the Federal Reserve is going to constantly debase money, you're seeing the trends towards a tyrannical central bank digital control mechanism, and you don't like that, well, don't just go out on Twitter or your social media and complain about it. Take action today. That means save in Bitcoin, download Bitcoin wallet, put a sizable chunk of your savings into Bitcoin, and watch as Bitcoin takes over the world. It is happening in real time. We're constantly bringing receipts to it, and Bitcoin incentives are they're so good. We just keep winning. And yes, you know, it's been a pretty long bear market, and I'm sure there's been a lot of Bitcoin obituaries out there and people thinking Bitcoin's dead and all that stuff. This is just part of the process. But as you can tell, more and more people are waking up to the idea that, holy shit, there is something wrong. It might be the money that is wrong, and now there's a better money. So just keep doubling down on the memes, but also, you know, showing people, holding their hands, walking them through the gates of paradise, which is Bitcoin, because not everyone knows what you know. We do have asymmetric knowledge when it comes to Bitcoin, and new technology scares people. People like to be comfortable. They don't want to take risks. That's the average person. The average person is comfortably asleep. Like I said last week, you know, comfortable wolves. And once they wake up, there will be a fury. There will be some vengeance. And we just got to protect ourselves, but also help people get onto the exit boats. You know, we are on the Titanic. We have hit the iceberg, and we have Bitcoin to protect us. Like, save in Bitcoin. It's so simple. It's really not that hard. You can download a wallet on your phone. You can go as complicated as you want to, but keep it simple. First things first, you need to hold Bitcoin, take it off an exchange, download a Bitcoin wallet like Blue Wallet, and save in Bitcoin. Control your own keys. It's really a lot easier than you may think. If you can use a cell phone, you can do an email, you can use Bitcoin. Just, you need to take the steps, because what's the old meme? It's like, if you need Bitcoin, it's too late. So protect yourself, guys. Like, this is the time when it's the calm before the storm to be saving in Bitcoin, because, hey, if you need Bitcoin, you probably should have got some yesterday. Anyways, Stefan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, on that note, Argentina is a good example, I think, about that, even though we have examples in the US too, right? But just the government one day confiscating your money. And obviously, if it was in the bank, it's easier. If it was in a vault somewhere, if it was gold. So, you know, yeah, get ahead of the curve. You know, it might be good to get some Bitcoin in case it catches on. And clearly it is catching on like a wildfire everywhere. And then on the topic of, you know, Bitcoin fixes this, sometimes people tell me, you know, friends, family, you know, maybe Bitcoiners, we come off a little too hard. Because, yeah, Bitcoin fixes this. You can talk about any topic for a while, and then eventually it seems like you get to the point you're like, did you know that Bitcoin could fix this? And so I think that sometimes can seem a little like too intense, although I know like we all think this. But so sometimes I think of, you know, Bitcoin can improve this, because maybe it sounds a little too ideological to think that Bitcoin literally will fix everything and make everything perfect. And I'm pretty sure most of all don't necessarily think that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like we all know that it's going to vastly improve everything, because everything is downstream from money. If you fix the money, you improve the money, let's say, everything's going to improve, you know. And then just thinking a little bit about what Milei wants to do in Argentina, I think that most of us can say that Bitcoin is kind of, when you opt into Bitcoin, it's a self-restraint of yourself, right? Because you're you're deciding to spend less and save in Bitcoin for the future. So again, this has a lot of downstream effects, but you're choosing to self-constrain yourself. So Milei in Argentina, there's a lot of topics about what's going on over there, but one of the issues is trying to dollarize the sovereign debt, not necessarily impose the dollar on everybody, which is something I think a lot of people don't really understand. I'm not saying I fully understand, but essentially what he's trying to do with this is self-restrain the government, right? If he plans on being part of the government, he's going to self-restrain himself. So I think we can all agree that we need less government. Some people want to abolish it completely. I'm down for that, but I also think it may be a little ideological. In practice, I think it's debatable if it would actually work. But no doubt that we need to size down government. We need to self-restrain it, and then same thing applies to health. You have to self-restrain yourself sometimes. We all want to just go out, live your life, eat, maybe drink, party, whatever it is you like to do. If you like to go exercise, you can't just exercise and expend all your energy. So self-restraint is good. And I think that if we adopt Bitcoin, if we get more people to adopt it little by little, this self-restraint being practiced everywhere is going to have to bring improvements, no doubt. So that's kind of my idea on the point of, Bitcoin fixes everything. Yeah, no doubt it will improve everything vastly for everyone, obviously, right?
I like that. Bitcoin improves this. Double down on that meme.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Amen to that. All right, man. I Bitcoin fixes everything. It's really
Bitcoin improves everything, Nico.
Bitcoin improves.
Were you
Bitcoin
not listening?
Fixes. Bitcoin improves. Bitcoin fixes. It's the
Same thing. Yeah.
Same
Tomato,
thing.
tomato.
For us, it
Tomato,
fixes,
tomato.
But to get the normies, maybe okay, it improves it, But yeah.
No, it
different.
fixes. All right, everybody. Let's get to the culture. Let's talk about Bitcoin, health, longevity, and life. Let's do it. I'm hyped for it.
The Daily Culture.
Brought to you by SwanBitcoin.com. Swan is the best way to build your Bitcoin stack with automated Bitcoin savings plans and instant purchases, serving clients of any size from $10 to $10 million. We love Swan because they incentivize self-custody and dollar cost averaging. What are you waiting for? Visit SwanBitcoin.com today.
Guys, pound the like button. We're at 135 likes. Help us get to 150. All you got to do, if you're enjoying the show, smash that like button, and help us push the orange signal. Anyways, Opti, what are we talking about today, bro?
All right, yeah. Well, we got as you can tell, we have a guest. He's a Bitcoiner, Stefan. But before we get into, the health and wealth stuff, most people, or actually a lot of people in the chat, they always like to hear a good, how did you become a Bitcoiner? So Stefan, let's go from the beginning. How did you become a Bitcoiner?
All right. Well, I think like most people, I've heard of Bitcoin every now and then in the past, and I kind of just, I didn't really give into it much. But then during COVID, I had just started my nursing career. I had been a nurse for a few months. And then when COVID hit, it just started feeling kind of weird. Like it just didn't make sense. It didn't all add up. And then at that same time, we had a lot of downtime. We were locked up. I had time. So I started researching. I had a cousin and two friends who I perceived as really smart guys, talking to me about Bitcoin. I'm like, you know what? I've just started making some money as a nurse. Let me, save up for the future. And as I started learning more about it, it felt like what you just said, Opti, where it seems like Bitcoiners are living a year or two in the future. And at that time, it was the whole topic of inflation. All these Bitcoiners saying, there's going to be inflation, guys. Like it's inevitable. There's going to be inflation. They're printing the shit out of this money. There's just going to be inflation. And it was very like, it came off even a little cocky, but I was like, man, if they're so cocky about this, maybe you know, and then living in Argentina and understanding a thing or two about inflation since I was born, I was like, dude, this just makes sense. This is inevitable. And then watching, Jerome Powell saying, no, we won't have inflation, and then a couple months would go by and then like, oh, we have a little bit of inflation, and then, oh, it's just transitory, guys, and then, oh, it's turning out to be a little stickier than what we thought. It's just like this whole thing of like, they're lying, right? They're lying, and there's no other conclusion to what you're seeing. They're just lying. And then obviously you could debate if they have malintention there, but yeah, at least they're trying to cover their ass, but they don't realize that they're harming people along the way, and they're so far removed from the reality of what inflation really does to you. So, it's like I felt like I was waking up to the realities of money and how, like, obviously I put in a ton of hours into learning this, and I have a minor degree in business, but obviously we don't talk about money. Actually, we just talk about all this other bullshit academic stuff, Keynesian economics, and same thing happens in healthcare. We talk a lot about all this crap and pathophysiology of how diseases happen and stuff, but in reality, we don't really know what's going on. And you just have to kind of take a step back and not get unhealthy. So I don't know, just everything was happening at the same time. I had a lot of downtime researching everything, researching COVID, seeing it happen. I was in the ICU, seeing everything that was happening. I would try to sound the alarm on something sometimes. A couple of times I was just told to shut up, and, politely, but there's this pressure to where if you try to think outside the box, they're like, no, you can't do that. Patients dying alone in their rooms, and me as a nurse having to go out, tell the family members that their loved ones had passed away, and I was the last person that they saw. And I'm like, this is fucked up. And there's actually no need for it to be this way, but we're just so rattled up by the situation. It's intentionally created in a more fearful way so that people will go along with it. And yeah, so it was just there was a lot going on. It was very emotional too, I would say. But I think both things happening kind of shaped me into caring about both things at the same time, and just everything converging and seeing the correlation. And there's no doubt that both are equally important. You can be super wealthy. If you don't have health, that wealth isn't worth a damn thing. If you're super healthy, but you're broke, you don't have money for food, for shelter, it's also not worth it. So that's part of my journey, how I got into Bitcoin. And yeah, it was an awesome trip. And then this is my first bear market. Yeah, it's been pretty tough, but honestly, it still makes sense. I'm just staying humble, stacking sats, trying to get people to do the same thing. And, at the end of the day, if they want to, come join us. If you don't, well, maybe you'll realize it further down the line,
Love it. Yeah. There's so many threads I can pull on in that conversation. The first one, though, just to like kind of, it is something we talk about here on the show all the time. Like the tyrants and the authoritarians out there, they're the best marketers of Bitcoin, and the more they try to control, the economy and not only like your local economy.
The economy, they try to control everything.
Yeah,
bro.
exactly. That's what I said. They try to control everything. More people start to wake up to the madness. And then another thing, before we get into like the real topic of today of health is wealth, Nico and I have noticed a trend that, we're both Latinos, but we both come from different areas. And there's something to like people that have seen their currencies debase in real time, or their families have seen their currencies debase in real time. Bitcoin just like instantly, it's like, it's so obvious to all of us that have experienced this, or our families have experienced this. And it just goes to show that, in the global South, as it's called, like people are going to wake up to Bitcoin because of the pain of their local currencies. But anyway, it's totally on the tangent. Let's get into the topic of today, which I know you wanted to talk about. As you've been telling everyone, you are in the healthcare system, and there is the meme in the Bitcoin space about like the fiat healthcare system and how it's designed to keep you sick. And this is something we say all the time on the shows, get fit mentally, get fit physically, because you have a responsibility to usher in these sats. And this is going to be a long-term game. And as the meme is, health as well. So I don't know, Stefan, where do you want to take this? What have you seen? Maybe not just necessarily in regards to the pandemic, but what are some other things that you've seen from within the belly of the beast that it's not designed to keep you healthy?
Well, we've talked a little bit about healthcare. I'll chime on that a little bit, and then I also want to touch on the global south because I think that there's a lot to say about that. It kind of makes me think of Saifedean's book, The Fiat Standard. It just describes very well how fiat corrupts everything. And I think with healthcare, it's pretty simple. You have these clinical studies, which everybody touts as, like the truth, right? During COVID is just a really good example because what always happens kind of at a smaller level and more covert, we saw it during COVID. That's what's always happening. It's just that eyes aren't always there, but it's the same pattern over and over again where you have people that are close to the money printer, right? Because funding for clinical studies is usually it's government funded. So then, or by the pharmaceuticals, obviously. So incentives, where's the incentive, right? It's basically like a marketing, a PR department, that's how they use it. So all their money goes towards that. They at the least kind of guide the science towards the direction where they want it to go so they can profit, right? It is a business. And then what's difficult sometimes, obviously healthcare providers like me, doctors, like just the plebs of healthcare is usually, well-intentioned people. We just want to help. We want to improve people's health. But then if you don't really, look up at who's making all of this happen, where it comes from, where it's trickling down from, it's hard to see that you might be doing more harm than good. And that's the point I always try to make. And I feel like a lot of healthcare providers get a little offended, like mostly doctors, because I'll just straight up, talk shit sometimes, but I don't mean to talk shit to them. It's about the profession. And it's my profession too. As a nurse, we do a lot of stuff that's just kind of fucked up. And then it's like, don't take it personal. I'm not talking about you, but if the shoe fits, if you are doing these things, if you're not, defending your patient's advocacy and you're defending the pharmaceuticals interests and just telling everybody to get vaccines and you don't think twice about it, I'm not saying don't recommend them, but at least think about them. And then you have a lot of conversations with people, with healthcare professionals, and you realize they don't study a damn thing. They went to school, they finished school, they're just making that money. That's all they're doing. They're well-intentioned, but they're not actually continuing to learn about, these topics. So I don't know, just kind of to wrap that up, I think that's the main issue. And then we could talk about this for hours, but then you have a lot of healthcare professionals making recommendations that maybe they don't really believe in, but they make them because if not, you'll get flagged, right? You'll be, hey, shut up, man. Oh, hey, you can't be saying that, or you might get fired, or you might whatever. So, and then they're always telling you, hey, protect your license, and that's also how they get you. They're kind of brainwashing you into say what we tell you to say, because if not, you're going to get in trouble legally. They're going to sue you. They scare you. So I've taken the approach of, what? I mean, obviously I value my license. I put a lot of work into it, but if they're going to take it. I'll figure out something else to do. I'll dedicate myself full time to Bitcoin or something. Maybe they'll do me a favor. I'm not going to change my moral beliefs because of a license, which is clearly, at least tainted with a little bit. And then just going back to the global south a little bit, I think you two and I and a lot of other people who have a connection with the global south, Latin America, Asia, just places where the currency is debased, we get to see both things. And what I feel like, what I wanted to talk about here is I see maybe people who live in the US who have always been in the US, we have like such privilege. Shout out to the book Check Your Financial Privilege, by the way, is a good read. Just for being here, we have so much privilege because the US has the global reserve currency. It's not because we're smarter, it's not because we work harder, it's not because of any of that, but it's very easy to think that that's why it is. When you understand money, you realize that it's just because of where you live and how important having a stronger currency, right, relative to the other fiat currencies. The dollar is king. Obviously, nobody debates that. So kind of realizing that, we're from there, I feel like it's kind of, it's kind of fucked up. We're here enjoying this privilege, and we see how people back home suffer just because their currency is debased. And then on the flip side, we have people, in my case, I'll say Argentina. Naturally, everybody tries to save in dollars because they know it's the stronger currency. It's just nobody debates that the Argentine peso sucks, and we all know where it's going. Like Greg Foss would say, it's math, it's just math. Learn math, you guys. But then the weird thing is, I thought people would be very accepting of Bitcoin. But I guess there is a little fear. To us, it's very clear that by the same rationale, just like the peso is shit and the dollar is less shit, that's why people choose it. By the same principle of just math and inflation of the currency, Bitcoin, by not being able to be inflated, is better, right? It's just obviously orders of magnitude better. For some reason, though, people have a hard time, I would say, really just accepting Bitcoin and saying, hey, yeah, like the same reason why I buy dollars is why I should maybe get into Bitcoin. It's the same rationale. I think there's fear. People do fear the government. They're convinced that the government will co-opt it somehow. They won't let us have it. They won't let us do it. They won't let it, succeed. But that to me is just probably a lack of knowledge on Bitcoin. And we have to, try to share that as best as possible. And I think eventually it'll start ringing true to people, and the writing is on the wall. We're seeing all these things happen everywhere. It is being adopted more little by little. So, but yeah, just to wrap it up, I feel like Americans need to look at, less fortunate countries and realize that the money is the issue. It's just very clear. And this financial colonialism that the US practices all over the world benefits the citizens too. And as citizens who benefit from this, and if we are trying to create a better world, we have to think about the people back home. And I don't know, that's kind of what keeps me running and is what makes me want to go back to Argentina and share this with people and be like, just help people set up their wallets, talk to them about it. And, usually it makes sense, but we're there. There's a lot of shit coinery out there. And I just can't get people off Binance. I can't get them away from Ethereum. I can't, but I'm like, well, it'll make sense at some point. We've all done a little bit of shit coinery. And on that same note, shit coinery, you're profiting off of somebody else, which again is just the same financial system that we have. The US profiting off of other countries, US citizens profiting off of that same financial system. And then when you're selling, when you're dumping that shit coin, you're profiting off of some other dweeb that bought it at the top. And like that's fucked up, man. If that's how you want to make your money, then have at it. But from a moral standpoint, I don't think there's a debate there. And if we all want a better world, I think we all want equality. This is base layer equality for everyone from the get-go, from the foundations, equal for everybody. And the equality will stem from there on out. We can't impose the equality, which is something that we see happening everywhere. And yeah, man, thanks for letting me rant.
No, I love it, Stefan. And I just want to, just at the consequence of time here. I'm just, it keeps blowing me away that we've all come to the same Schelling point, and it's just like, it just goes to show that the Bitcoin content out there, the Bitcoin signal is so strong, and it's getting better and better over time, and we're all just kind of waking up to the same thing. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you, we all kind of come back to what we say all the time, like, it's the money. Like, understand that money is the base problem, it's broken, and try to position yourself in such a way that you can hold the best money possible in a way that you can, feel good about, because this is all we're doing here, is just trying to spread that signal, get more people to wake up to what is going on. And I think slowly but surely people are waking up to this. And of course, it's not happening as fast as maybe everyone would want it to happen. But, like Stefan, I think you're just a perfect example of, like, slowly but surely individuals are waking up. Whatever the mechanism, whatever it is, that one defining moment to wake someone up, once you wake up and you see the problem, it's like almost impossible to go back to the normal world. It's it's the Matrix meme all over again.
100%, 1,000,000%. I think you hit the nail on the head. And with Bitcoin is that hope. Like, Bitcoin is that hope for people all around the world, specifically, 100%. Most people don't understand, and I'm glad that you brought up the book, Check Your Financial Privilege. Like, most people do not understand what that does. You cannot live. You do not have hope for saving for the future, much less starting a business, anything. You're just trying to maintain some semblance of your purchasing power so that you can even just put food on the table. And, that's why I found it so despicable when organizations like the IMF, with, part of the bailout, part of the conditions that they gave to Argentina with the bailout was that they had to de-incentivize the adoption of alternatives, the adoption of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. Like, who is the IMF really, looking out for? I think they're looking out for themselves. And Alex Gladstein also wrote a book about this called Hidden Repression, which I highly recommend. So yeah, man, but this is the fourth turning. This is crazy. This is the separation of money and state. Hopefully it's a lot less bloody and violent than the separation of church and state. So, take your Bitcoin into self-custody, bunker down, and hold on for the ride. They don't call it the Bitcoin roller coaster for no reason. All right, everybody, let's review some memes.
The Daily Meme Review.
Brought to you by Kaboomracks. I get this question all the time. Nico, where should I buy Bitcoin miners? The answer is Kaboomracks. It's the best place to buy Bitcoin miners. That's where you're going to find the best deals and the best prices. Start your mining utopia today. To check out their racks, you got to go to t.me/Kaboomracks. Join their Telegram group and start your mining journey today. Kaboomracks.
Like a true Argentine, he is drinking mate. Okay. Argentine confirmed.
Ready for the memes.
All right, guys, you already know the deal. This is the meme review. So tag me on Twitter at simplybitcointv. If I don't get it, maybe tag me at Optimus Fields as well. My personal account blows up less.
And join our Telegram group, bro.
I didn't get to there yet.
Join
or you
our
can
Telegram
drop them
group.
in our Telegram group, t.me/simplybitcointv.
There.
And
you can join our
review
Telegram group.
memes.
Help us get to 1,000. There's almost 1,000 people in there. There's 966. We're very close. So join our Telegram group. Go to t.me/simplybitcointv. It's free. That's where you can tag Opti, and you can drop us some memes. Anyways.
Tweets are the bullets, memes are the artillery. As you can tell, we are in an information war, and all we can do is try to wake up more soldiers out there and plant the ideas of freedom, money into their minds. Anyways, this first meme, I really like this one. I don't know. This might be a little too over the Overton window for Nico, but this is Petrichor, aka at 1E9 Petrichor on Twitter, and he goes mood, and it goes, "What day is it today, as poo?" And Piglet responds with, "It's the day we burn this motherfucking slavery matrix down to the ground." And Pooh goes, "That's my favorite day." Me too, Pooh Bear. Me too. Anyways, this next meme is by the Bitcoin Therapist, and he goes, "What are you doing next? Hashtag BTC." And it's just a chart here of the Bitcoin price going absolutely nuclear, and we're getting some God candles. And it goes, "You wake up and see this. What are you doing?" And I really wanted to bring this on because I was having a conversation with my mom about like what, like even if you were given $10 million tomorrow, like what would you do? And I'm like, I'd probably just like buy more Bitcoin, you know, like I'd give you guys some money. Like, like my life wouldn't change too much if I was given that much money tomorrow. It's just like, this is what us Bitcoiners have done to ourselves. It's, we have created a life for us where like, we don't really want too much. It's like, we want to see the fiat matrix burn. That's what we want. All right. This next meme is by @Cluckies_. And he goes, there's a couple in love here. And he goes, the guy responds, goes, I would do anything for you. And the wife says, sell your Bitcoin. And then he's got laser eyes and kicks her off a cliff because there's something I wouldn't do for you even if I loved you. And that is selling my Bitcoin. All right, this next meme is by @RD_BTC. Shouts out to you, bro. And he goes, poor little guy, hashtag hodl, hashtag Bitcoin, hashtag don't trade, hashtag not gonna make it, hashtag wrecked. And we got this little, what is this, a chimpanzee, little chimpanzee or monkey? The monkey? Little monkey. I don't know. I've been watching a documentary that, you know, have you guys seen the Chimps documentary? Dude, chimpanzees are they're insane. Go watch them. Highly recommend you watch those documentaries. Anyways, a little monkey and he's on the ground dead or dying, or
he's sleeping, bro. He's passed out,
sleeping with his eyes open. He's devastated.
He's straight chilling, bro.
He's devastated. And he goes, what happened to him? He sold his Bitcoin in December 2022 because traders told him it's going to 12K. Oh man, do not listen to the traders out there telling you it's going. What are they saying now? It's going to 10K still? Like what? Okay. Anyways, next meme is by @WojackBitcoin. And we got some crying Wojacks here. And it goes, shitcoiners, your shitcoin doesn't have funny dog memes. And then another shitcoiner goes, your shitcoin can't put monkeys on the blockchain. And then we have Bitcoiners with laser eyes and lightning bolts. And it goes, Bitcoin is the best. Yes. And there is no second best.
What's the second best? There
is no second best. There's Bitcoin and there's shitcoins. This next meme is by Maxi's Club, and it goes 521 Maxi Leota. And we got a Bitcoiner here. It's got Opti in a suit here talking with Bitcoiners. And it goes, I told him to buy Bitcoin. And he said his financial advisor advised him not to. And everyone laughs at him. Gosh, just stack Bitcoin. It's so simple, guys. It's so simple. All right, and this last one is by Romolio. And he goes, because out of this list, the only real money is Bitcoin. And it goes, I didn't choose the dollar. I didn't choose the pound. I didn't choose the ruble. I didn't choose the euro. And I didn't choose the yen. But I choose Bitcoin. This is the way. Opt into a money that doesn't rob you, that isn't forced on you via violence, via the monopoly on violence. It's the only freedom money in the world. It is Bitcoin. Can't debase it. Censorship resistant. All the memes. Okay.
Oof, bars.
Drop your meme review score on the other side of Nico.
I'm going first.
Okay.
All
wait. Skip gets it. Chimps will tear your face off like a bull market in his parabolic face. He gets it. He's seen them.
I'm going to give it this Madex sticker. Tax is extortion. Your government is stealing from you. Inflation is theft. There is rumors that Ron Paul has this as his bumper sticker.
Okay. All right. My meme review score is my birds of paradise died in my room, so now it's no longer in here. I brought that on as a score before, but here's like the base. It's still in here, so I don't mess up the carpet in here. But apparently, I don't know how to take care of plants. I'm trying.
All right, Stefan, what is your meme score?
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't prepared for this portion.
No one is.
But but I have
the book of Max. Book of Max.
There has to be something here.
There's I'm pretty sure there's a picture of Chrissy in there.
I don't know if this is entirely relevant, but it says nobody can jerk off to Rachel Maddow. I think it's on point.
Might be the best meme score. Wow. Okay.
There you go. Yeah. In case everybody wants to look at it a little longer.
Oh man. Max Kaiser, bro. Fucking legend. Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. Before we get to meme review scores, Elaine, I am very well very well aware that it's not an indoor plant, and I pretty much killed it. Anyways, Nico, there's some scores coming in, but yeah.
Guys, get yourself some Simply Bitcoin merch. Get it while supplies last. You can get yourself an orange hoodie or a black Simply Bitcoin t-shirt. Sophie is working on merch for girls. So we're gonna be dropping Simply Bitcoin merch for girls as well. Get it while supplies last. I literally made it super easy. Scan the QR code on your screen, take you directly to the Simply Bitcoin website, and you can get yourself some Simply Bitcoin merch. All right, Opti. What's the first score? First score by Dr. Surge 9000. My meme score is yellow colored windows on the porch of my future Citadel. Okay.
This guy gets
very
it.
nice. Opti's Promised Lands, Ball Play, Alabama.
I don't get it.
Score a Stefan's very well hidden toxicity like his father, Saifedean. What?
He's Argentinian, not Lebanese.
What? Okay, Elaine. Bitcoiners get smart about health as they are about money to outlive the fiat freaks. The Bitcoin world is ours to take. Oof, Elaine coming in hot today. Elaine coming in hot. All right, Matthew J. Meme score 1 Bitcoin hat.
Okay, Matthew, I know you've been trolling me for the last like 2 months. We're gonna get you guys hats soon.
Yeah,
Forgive us.
We're dropping that merch.
Wait, lower your time preference.
We're dropping that. A wine is on the case. All right, next one. By Igor. I give the memes a blue umbrella, a new tinfoil hat. Okay.
Oof. If you know, you know.
You know. Planet Earth meme score. Transcend the bullshit. Okay.
Yes. It's been a minute since I plugged our Substack. What is it on simplybitcoin.com now?
Just go to simplybitcoin.news. It will take you directly.
Okay, but we just dropped a fire one. Transcend the bullshit. We're dropping all kinds of fire there. We haven't been plugging it on the show, so do not sleep on our articles. Our authors are killing it.
You know, all you got to do is just subscribe. It's free. And you can go to simplybitcoin.com or simplybitcoin.news to go directly to the Substack. Anyways, and also shout out. Someone just bought a shirt. Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it. All right. Woo! All right. Are we closing it? Wait. We're out of time.
Yeah, we went over long today.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. I'm your host, Nico. Is my legendary co-host, Opti. And I want to give a very special shout out to our guest, Stefan. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. I really, really appreciate it. You had some amazing takes. It's not just about wealth, guys. It's about health is wealth. So really appreciate you joining us on today, brother. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the interwebs?
All right, I can see the handle right there. That's my handle for Twitter, for Instagram. You guys can follow me. And like Milei would say, viva la libertad, carajo.
Oof. Viva la libertad, carajo. I absolutely love that. All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution forward is share this content. In fact, share all Bitcoin content. Literally just copy the link, send it to your family and friends, send it to the people around you. Literally, that's how it works. You get them out of the fiat matrix. You have to do it one person at a time. I've been doing this for a long time. This is my 7th year going into my 8th. I'm telling you, that is literally, it's like one person at a time, chip at it ever so slowly. Eventually they get orange pilled. Eventually they get on the mission. Don't give up. It's all about agency. Anyways, guys, love you. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you back tomorrow, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But until then, you can join the Twitter Spaces after party, which we're hosting until 2 p.m. with our friends over at Swan Bitcoin, best place to build your Bitcoin stack. Opti's going to be holding it down, so make sure to join him and get on stage, ask Opti any questions. Hopefully Stefan could join us as well on Twitter Spaces. So it's going until 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like I said, about 15 minutes. All right, guys, peace out. Have an amazing Monday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
As you can tell, the show went a little long, so we'll probably be rolling this space out around 2 p.m. Eastern time, unless people come up here and the convo gets going, gets rolling. But you already know the deal, guys. come up here, add your 2 cents to the conversation, or maybe some things happen on the Twitter timeline while we were live that we can't see because, you know, we're not omnipresent. I forget. Anyways, what a show, man. That was a great show. It was wide range.